Do you hear that? That's your intuition. That first voice before the intellect, the chatter of the intellect starts making excuses, bypassing, creating all these other reasons for why you shouldn't trust your gut. That first voice is your inner voice, your intuition. And many of us bypass it. Many of us learn early on that other voice, that intellect, the one that has just more things to say, more pieces to the puzzle to add to the equation, that we should listen to that one. It is the Cancer new moon. And this is the time that I want you to really practice listening to that inner voice, that first voice, that intuitive voice, okay? Let's pull up the chart and we'll talk more about this. Here we are on the new moon at 4 degrees Cancer, 7 minutes on June 25th, 2025. Today, we're going to be taking a look at this new moon chart and all the most important astrological aspects and phenomenon within this 2-week lunation period. So I'm Catherine Urban. I'm an astrologer with over 16 years of astrological immersion, practice, and study. And we are going to be picking apart this new moon chart to give us guidance for the strange times that we are in. Yes, very strange. And they keep getting stranger. So we are just coming off of this Jupiter cazimi here. So a lot of that Jupiterian insight, that quiet Jupiterian insight that I was speaking about in my last video, that information is part of the seeding of this new moon. Now, Cancer energy, this is nurturing, sensitive, tapping in, psychic. What I talked about just a minute ago about listening to that inner voice, that inner compass. And I want to share with you a little practice that I do just to exercise this so that when I really need that intuition, it's strong. But I use it when I'm driving. If I have the choice to sit at the light or turn, I ask my intuition. And I ask my intuition to change lanes and things like that. And I just practice listening. And very often it ends up to my benefit where I end up getting somewhere a little bit quicker. So that's my quick, easy trick for you to practice your intuition. If you don't drive, you can use it with any kind of transportation. So that's what I would recommend. And the moon is the planet of journeys, speaking of which. The moon is the planet that moves the quickest, and it's a transmitter of light, a transmitter of information around the chart. And yeah, the moon guides our journeys at night, ancient people, and it is an interpreter of messages. I feel that the sun-moon relationship is our very first visual experience of planetary cycles, calendar, and we base that visual cycle, we base the other planetary cycles on that. So the moon has everything to do with information. So speaking of the sign of Cancer, we are listening to that information that comes from within, our timelessness, our intuition, our ability to be connected to the world around us, to other people, to tap in. And like I said, we're coming off of this Jupiter cazimi, and cazimis are quiet. We can get a lot of information, a lot of valuable information from that cazimi moment, but a lot of times it's deeply personal, and it's something that we observe, we take in through reflection or through quiet. So as I mentioned in my last forecast, this is one of the juiciest moments of Jupiter in Cancer. It is our one and only Jupiter-Sun alignment. And we should be receiving insights on what it is to feel blessed, what it is to be in community, to share and connect, to lean in. That's a message I've been getting a lot since Jupiter entered Cancer, is the importance of leaning in. And I think in today's time impoverished world, it's so easy just to satellite and get your shit done and then be exhausted and want to chill. And I think Jupiter in Cancer really reminds us the importance of leaning in, Friendship is one of those things that you participate in it. Like, people aren't always just going to invite you to the party. I mean, that's great and everything. People usually invite other people to parties, but like leaning in and saying, I want to be with you. I want to spend time with you. I want to cultivate more of a connection with you. So thinking about those ways, we may have been getting those insights around the 24th with that Cazimi, but I think it really pertains to this energy of the Cancer new moon right now. We live in uncertain times. And one of the things that's come out of this Jupiter square to the Saturn Neptune conjunction is, well, we find ourselves probably going to war right now. Like, as I record this, the United States has just bombed Iran, and there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of uncertainty. Again, Saturn, Neptune, fear and uncertainty right now. And Cancer, Jupiter in Cancer, protection, wanting to protect. And so that's one of the things that happens very often when we're trying to protect, is there's an attack. It doesn't always have to be that way, but that's where I'm kind of connecting this to. And so, activism does matter. Your voice out in the world has an impact. However, right now things are new. We're not really sure what's happening. We may not be able to have a lot of agency in the way things are unfolding right now. And so I share that because I think that this Cancerian energy of cultivating your home space, cultivating your nest, tending toward your inner flame, that flame that sustains you no matter where you go, no matter what situation you are put in. It's really important that we tend to that right now. And it's our friends and our family, Jupiter and Cancer, wherever you kind of source that emotional sustenance, that intimate sustenance, that support that also really is going to fortify and bolster your spirit at this time. So I don't know about you, but Mars is in Virgo, organization, and Venus is in Taurus, beautifying. I just spent the weekend organizing closets, and I got to tell you, that was really satisfying for me. I bought like some cheap organizers and went to town, and that is doing it for me right now. So there's some support here, even though it's not like directly connected to the moon. Well, I mean, Mars in Virgo is. That's pretty exact. That's an exact sextile there. So getting organized is something that might help you feel secure at this time. So that's what I would recommend during this time of uncertainty, is to nurture yourself, nurture your friends and family, and cultivate your nest. Moving forward, on June 26th, Mercury, our planet of communication and intellect, is going to enter the sign of Leo. So this is a very passionate sign, a very heartfelt and strong sign. So our communication is going to be very forthright. This is not ambivalent. This is like Mercury in Leo isn't necessarily the biggest blabbermouth, but when it does speak, it does so intentionally and from the heart. And we are going to feel strongly about the things that we are speaking about. And so this can lead to disputes, this can lead to arguments, and people don't back down. But you know what else we get with Mercury and Leo is people want to talk about themselves. So we're going to learn a lot of new things and hopefully hear some funny stories from our friends. So this is a really great time to reintroduce yourself. Introduce yourself to your audience, to the people that you see all the time. You maybe want to remind them some things. This is the time to make it personal. So we're going to be working with Mercury in Leo for a long time, because Mercury is going to be stationing retrograde on July 18th. So this is a little far in the future, but it's going to remain retrograde through August 11th. So this is a longer retrograde, and it is all taking place in the sign of Leo. So think about where your Leo house is, and Mercury is going to help you spend some extra time reconfiguring some things there for yourself. And if you want some guidance with how to figure that out, be sure to find me and connect for your next astrology reading. We can talk about that, as well as your year ahead and everything else that is going on with all these planetary shifts that are happening. We've got a really big one we're going to talk about momentarily. We're going to get into Uranus moving into Gemini, once every 7-year planetary change. So hang tight, we'll get there. But anyhow, Mercury is going to be in Leo for a while. So we're going to be working with this energy for some time. Now, this is going to be interesting because, as I alluded to early on, there's been some big events and we're like, what's happening with that? And Mercury in Leo, we're not going to see people backpedal. We're not going to see people say, oh, I made a mistake. We're going to see people double down on the world stage is what we're going to see. And in particular, Mercury is going to start off this ingress strong with a powerful trine to Saturn and Neptune. So this is going to do a couple of things. On one hand, Mercury with Saturn says, we're making some things clear. We're making some things known. There were some things that were a little fuzzy, but now we have the details. But then Neptune is there. So it's like we're finding some things out, but we still don't have the full story, or we're finding out some information, but things still aren't quite adding up. What this could be really great for you personally is creativity. Like that trine with Neptune is absolutely doing its thing, and it can be very creative. But Saturn is saying like, okay, well, let's at least put the pen to paper. Like things don't have to be sensical here, or things don't have to be necessarily practical. Like whatever you're working on, it could just be for fun, delight, creativity, just something sort of whimsical that has popped into your head. And this will help you get that idea on paper and start putting it into action. Then immediately after that, Mercury is going to reach an opposition with Pluto. So that's going to be June 28th and 29th. And this is where we will find some big reveals. Again, with Neptune there, we may not have all the information, but we're going to be able to deduce it. We're going to sort of be able to fill in the blanks. Maybe we won't be able to prove our theory 100%, but we're going to be able to use that intuition that I talked about to fill in some blanks. This is going to bring some big reveals, some big truth bombs are going to come out with that one. So pay attention to that, because I think that's the only one. That's the only Mercury and Leo aspect we'll get with these planets. So it's going to be good. It's going to be good. It's not going to be boring. And on a personal level, Mercury opposite Pluto is really great for deep dives. It's if you have something that is deserving of your focus and your attention, if you need to like perform like a Herculean labor intellectually, this is really great for that. This is going to give you the focus that you need. The next thing that happens, clicking a little bit forward, is Neptune is going to station retrograde on July 4th. Shortly hereafter, in about a week, Saturn will also station retrograde. So we've got this dynamic duo stationing and commanding our attention. So this is going to influence a lot of the month. And ever since Saturn has entered Aries, this aspect has dominated. And the month of July is no different. So again, we've talked a lot about this here, but this is a collective disappointment, a divine discontent. People's bubbles are being burst. People are feeling disappointed. There's a demystifying of things that used to feel magical. Some of the biggest things that we're talking about is loss of faith in a very specific cult leader. Also, people are losing faith in the system, the American dream. There's a lot of that. Like I saw a story today about how ICE went after a Marine's wife, and she was breastfeeding their 3-month-old baby, and they took her. And you know, there used to be sort of this like wives of military. It's like, okay, we're going to prioritize the legitimization of your citizenship. But even now, wives of military personnel aren't protected. And so that's a loss of faith. right there. And that's just one example. There's a lot of loss of faith here. But faith is also being restored in quiet ways. It's being reseeded. We just had one of the largest, actually the largest protests in American history on No King's Day. So that was reinforcing for people. And so Saturn Neptune is asking us, like, these are the things that you've lost faith in. These are the things that are disappointing. But where can we reseed that faith? What do we still have faith in? And certain things are going to happen this month as these two planets station. Immediately, we're going to talk about Neptune now. We'll talk about Saturn next time. But with Neptune on the 4th, this is the haze. This is exhaustion. This is a feeling of disorientation. We are going to be drawn into those distractions, the things that help us feel like we are escaping. And a certain degree of escapism is necessary. Like, our systems are not biologically adapted to being as plugged in as we are. We are not biologically suited to care about all the things that are happening all over the world. Like, for millennia, human attention span was primarily local. And if you chose to be more than that, then that was your calling. But now we are all global citizens. And so a certain amount of escapism is healthy. We need to be able to check out. We need to be able to just take a long weekend and do nothing and unplug. Or, find that creativity, like the things that elevate you. Neptune has a way of elevating us as well. So those tendencies are going to be really strong at this time. So if you're feeling tired, you're feeling spacey, that's just your body's way of tapping into the cosmic weather. But these two together, divine discontent. And there may be a really profound ache in your heart, but think about what is inspiring you. And if you can't connect with that inspiration, rest. Your job right now is to rest right now. Another thing that's happening on July 4th is, and I'm just going to go back a couple hours here, is that Venus is reaching an alignment with Uranus right before Venus moves into Gemini. And Uranus is going to be moving into Gemini here too. But first, let's talk about this alignment. So anything that is happening at 29 degrees like this is calling our attention. There is a big story here. 29 degrees, there's something that we feel a sense of urgency. There's an emergency that's happening. And for this one, this is happening this could be financial. So this could be something more collective, like a financial scandal or some sort of issue. With Uranus, I'm inclined to think it would be crypto related, but who knows? On a personal level, this is going to probably show up in our relationships. And maybe not every single person is going to feel this. There's a number of different factors which would make you more privy to feeling this. Those factors we will be talking about in my upcoming course, not timing with transits, that's the old one, is Time Lords and Transits. We're going to be talking about Time Lords and which planets are most active and the most active areas of our birth charts and what to watch for. And so there's a number of considerations that we would take into to figure out who's going to be feeling this the most. We're going to be talking about that course, which begins on August 14th. And right now, I still have the early bird rate going. So head on over to my website if you want to learn more about Time Lords and transits and study together. So speaking more generally, how people might feel this on a personal level, is this going to show up in our relationships? So there's a tightness, a sense of feeling suppressed or repressed, a sense that we could be doing more. And the stuckness of doing things in a repetitive, monotonous kind of way. Venus conjunct Uranus says, I'm really bored and I love you. I'm really dedicated to you. We're in the sign of Taurus. There's immense loyalty here, but we need to switch it up. We need to switch it up. We need to do different things on the weekends, or we need to have different goals to aspire to, or we need to travel, or we just need to connect in a different way. We need to freshen some things up here. So there's a strong sense of urgency to freshen things up or stir the pot in a way in our relationships. Maybe you need to get out more, see different people, like reconnect with people who you would consider your besties, but it's been a minute. And that's really good Cancer energy here with the Sun in Cancer, Jupiter in Cancer. Reconnect, be bold. This is going to invite you to take some risks, take some chances, follow your inspiration. And if it doesn't work out, if it's still, you're scratching the itch, but it doesn't feel satisfied, well, big change is coming on July 4th. Venus is going to enter Uranus. Venus is going to enter Gemini. This is social butterfly energy. What I was just saying about Venus and Taurus and like cultivating sweetness intentionally in our spaces, in our relationships, this is like restless. Venus in Gemini is restless. The desire to be spontaneous, meet new people, to just be out in the world and connect spontaneously with other people, to spontaneously say, hey, you want to meet up? Like if you keep running into the same people on your dog walk or at the library with the kids or wherever, be spontaneous, make it happen. It doesn't have to be this like permanent, long-lasting thing. We can just have an experience, right? And so Venus in Gemini is really great for hookups. So you see what I'm getting at here? With if this doesn't work out, if this isn't satisfying you, we are going to venture outward and see what happens. So Venus in Gemini is a little bit of a wandering eye, like not necessarily with malicious intent, but just like, ooh, what else? What are other people doing? What's happening out there in the world? And this is also going to be a love of learning, a love of reading, a love of study. Sign up for my course. And right away, Venus is going to be connecting with that Saturn, Neptune conjunction. This is still great for stability, okay? Venus, Saturn is still thinking long term. It's just, again, we need to freshen things up. We need to change the sheets, all right? Venus in a sextile with Neptune, very romantic, inspirational. Get inspired by something you read. Get inspired by a conversation. Get inspired just by observing, like I said. Like this is so great for people watching. Okay, and then Venus is also going to form a trine with Pluto. Great for intimacy, great for depth. And so it's really great because Venus in Gemini, it's like it's unintentional. It's like we're just out living our life, being spontaneous. We're not necessarily trying to make it like deep or serious, but you can hit those really deep notes of connectedness with this trine to Pluto. You can learn so much more about other people in your life and feel closer to them. So this is going to be a fun one to connect with. Moving forward, this is the Big Daddy transit. Okay, we're going to go to July 7th, and this is when Uranus enters Gemini. This is a very big deal. Uranus will be here only through November. So we have about 4 months to get to know this energy and what it feels like for us before it retrogrades back into Taurus for a brief while. When it returns to Uranus in early 2026, that's going to be April of 2026, it's going to stay. So this is our brief 4-month introduction to Uranus and Gemini. So what is Uranus and Gemini going to be about? Well, number one, on a personal level, this is going to illuminate and electrify a whole other sector of your chart. So while Uranus was in Taurus, think about what that did for you. But also think about on a collective level, Uranus brought a disruption to the elements in our life that were the most stable. Prices went up in Taurus for everything. There's been food shortages in different parts of the world. There's been supply shortages in different parts of the world. I mean, we saw this begin in 2018, and then we hit the pandemic and the housing market boom, and just restaurants, what happened to restaurants. The things that were most stable and most dependent upon were thrown into a mixer, basically. So what's going to happen with Uranus and Gemini? Well, for one, this is chaotic meets chaotic. Like, I'm sorry, no offense, Gemini energy out there, but Gemini is the first sign of duality, multiplicity, and it is an air sign. So it's a lot of stimulus in the sign of Gemini, a lot of cerebral stimulus. It's also a sign of communication and writing. So when we think about what that means for us in a modern sense, this is technology. This is education. This is social media, the internet, schools, tablets, technology. And Uranus is the upheaval. It flips everything on its side. This is where we get a burst of electric current, okay? So what we're going to see here is Uranus is going to be hanging out in this trine with Pluto for some time. So for the next couple of years, we're going to be working with this trine. And really, I mean, if you want to talk archetypally, that's kind of defining this whole period, really, is Uranus is trine to Pluto. So what this is going to do is this is going to accelerate AI. And what we have on the table here in the US is a bill that is going to leave AI unregulated for the next 10 years, which many people are freaking out about as major corporations try to develop like a super brain, an AI that can supersede the human mind. Or what you see with people kind of falling into these traps where it's like a mini one-on-one cult where people are starting to develop relationships with ChatGPT and start to really worship the gospel of ChatGPT. And it sounds really profound, like what's coming out of it, but people are finding themselves like borderline psychosis at times, like where there's a break between reality and artificial reality. So yeah, this is going to really accelerate that development. And what I was saying about Gemini being a sign of education and what this means for teachers, what this means for schools, what this means for how people take exams. People are going back to oral exams because students are using ChatGPT to write their essays. Or there was just a study that was just done studying the effects of AI and its effect on the brains of people who use it very frequently. And it's diminishing activity. So it's actually atrophying our intellect. So in some ways you see like this swift acceleration, this unchecked acceleration, and at the same time we see the challenges that it poses. So that's really going to be a major benchmark of what Uranus and Gemini is going to do. It's going to disrupt education. It's going to change education. It's going to change our relationship with the internet. Like there are videos where it's AI, but not everyone realizes it's AI because we're not used to seeing it. We're not used to filtering out what's real and what's not. And there are some things that can give it away, but not everyone is there yet. I think YouTube is about to roll out this like button where you can say, oh, this is like AI mumbo jumbo. This is bullshit. And so there's going to be warnings that like, this is AI. So it's going to really shift the way that we take in information and the need to be even more mindful of that. So that I think is going to be like the biggest thing that it brings. We're going to see changes in education. We're going to see changes in technology. We're going to see acceleration of technology. And I know I've expressed a lot of fear and like the things that we're afraid of with it, which is well-founded, but this could be amazing for, let's say, diagnostics in the medical field, for example, or yeah, I mean, just the way that we could do research if we do it conscientiously. So we're going to see a ton of changes there in technology and information, this aspect is going to be the steward of that. The last thing I wanted to speak to about Uranus's ingress into Gemini is its correspondence with the United States and major wars. So this is a Uranus return for the United States. So we're looking at the Revolutionary War. Then the next time it came around, 84 years later, we have the American Civil War, followed by 84 years later, World War II. So obviously there was like other battles and wars that aren't being counted here, but we notice the correspondence. This would be in the 7th house of the United States Sibley chart, which is a chart that astrologers use as the chart of the United States. So it's in the 7th house of opponents and conflict. So many people been anticipating what this next Uranus return could mean, and are we going to war? And here we have the United States has just bombed Iran without the consent of Congress. So this is also Trump's Uranus return. He is also a Gemini. So we could judge that he is going to play a very big role in this country's Uranus return. And that's about all I want to get into that right now. I don't want to like create unnecessary fear, but I will just say, let's keep an eye on this because he's likely going to be the emblem through which this transit really plays out. So it'll be curious to see what exactly happens. Hopefully this is a situation that could be diffused and it doesn't progress into something unnecessary, but we will see. So for right now, I think that's all I want to say on that, but we're just going to keep an eye, okay? So thank you so much for tuning in with me today. This is our 2-week forecast for the Cancer new moon. We will reconnect next time for the Capricorn full moon. And until then, I hope these transits serve you in the highest. And if you would like more clarity on how these transits are serving you on a personal level, feel free to reach out. Let's schedule a consultation and connect. Thank you so much for tuning in with me today. For more astrology in your world, you can connect with me on all platforms at Astro Catherine. You can also find me at catherineurban.com where you can schedule your year ahead consultation. I'm offering a new course. Time Lords and Transits begins on August 14th. Right now, you can still get that early bird rate through the end of June. This is an 11-week mentorship where I'm going to teach you everything I know about how to layer annual perfections and transits together in order to elevate your understanding of what time it is in your life and in the lives of your clients. So for more information, you can find that at catherineurban.com where you can also sign up. And I look forward to connecting with you in class or here or in session soon. Bye.